Hey, what's going on, everyone? I hope everyone is doing good today. Today, I'm on scene. I'm on scene with Kurt talking about Blindman Brewing. Hey, Kurt, how's it going today?
Yeah, pretty fantastic today. It's a beautiful day.
Well, exactly. It's been nice to see that Alberta has been just warming up. It's about time. It's like overdue.
I agree. April dragged on a little bit.
I agree. I was having a discussion with a friend just about how, just in general, yes, the last 8 weeks have been such a slow period where time has, I feel, has been crawling. But boy, oh boy, with the weather and with everything going, it's just been like just a slow time, slow start. So you're right, 100%. April did drag on. So Kurt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm one of the founders of Blindman Brewing, a local craft brewery down in sunny Lacombe. I started it with some partners about 5 years ago now, a little bit, yeah, just over 5 years now. I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, been doing a few things around the world and stuff like that, but this is obviously kind of my biggest and most fun adventure I've been on so far. Been
100%. So like, tell us how did you start the brewery? Like, what was that process like?
It's like all great decisions. It starts over a couple beers, and then you take things a little bit too far.
Totally.
A generation ago it would have been like, oh, we should open up a bar, and nowadays it's like, oh, we should open up a brewery.
So how many other partners do you have within the brewery?
Yeah, I've got three that they're kind of call it full time, and then a couple
Yeah.
silent partners as well.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. And sort of in the grand scheme of things, so what's your sort of like day to day look like at the brewery?
A little bit of everything. Like you're talking with business folks, and especially when you're a founder, when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of do a little bit of everything. My
Yeah.
primary role, I guess you'd say, would be sales and marketing. But there's
Okay.
there's a million things that come across your desk every day, and you're like, okay, who has to do that? I guess I have to do that. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'll learn how to do that.
100%. Like I can imagine you'd have to also, while problem solving and just rolling with the punches, handle sort of all the tasks and things that's on your plate.
Yeah, it's a lot of obviously it's a lot of rolling with the punches, especially these days.
hmm And that's a great segue into sort of like, please, from your point of view and from the Blind Man's Brewery point of view, what has and how has the last sort of like now, I guess, like 8 weeks been for you guys?
Yeah, you know what? We really can't. We don't have much room to complain. There's a lot of people, a lot of businesses that are doing a lot. Things are a lot harder for them. We've been able to manage things and manage our people. We haven't had to lay anybody off, which was a big concern of ours.
That's good.
You just, everybody's using this word pivot and stuff like that. We pivoted. We started, obviously bars and restaurants were shut down, so we lost that. That's a big, it's 50% of our production. But, we started home delivery. Um,
Okay.
Liquor stores are open. Um, I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to close anytime soon because of the tax revenue that the government gets from
hmm
liquor. And so, yeah, we were just able to move around and then start some hand sanitizer production as well.
Wicked, wicked. So before we jump into some of the retooling that you did, I'm kind of curious, and I'm sure people are like, are you one of those industries that sort of, as sort of, this whole pandemic hit, was there like an increase of demand, or did it balance out because of the decrease in what restaurants were
It's kind of
bottom
all
line
over the
requesting?
place. Some breweries, have taken a huge hit. Especially ones that are really focused on tap room and serving pints across their bar.
Yeah.
Others are doing, that only sell the liquor stores. They're doing just fine. It's kind of a mixed bag, and obviously you see that across multiple industries, even in restaurant industries. There's some restaurants right now that are doing better than they ever have because they have food that lends itself to delivery and pickup, and they're able to connect with the people. And then
Totally.
there's others, obviously, that these are really really trying times for them.
Yeah. No, and that's very true. I've been hearing sort of those kind of, narratives across both extremes of ones who are just kind of moving fast and were able to toughen out, but while others who are spread kind of across the place or have multiple chains are just in hard times and are stressing and just have compounded challenges ahead of them just due to the nature of their business or items like that. So I'm kind of curious that the day that sort of the government decided to sort of close restaurants and all that stuff, what was going on around Blindman Brewery? Were you guys just glued to the TV sets and radios and listening, or were you guys just operating as normal until sort of the news happened? Like, what kind of happened in that stage around like the 15th of March?
Yeah, so right around then, we were kind of looking towards the spring, and we're like, okay, we got a couple scenarios. Either this coronavirus thing, it hits Alberta, and we have to shut everything down, or both the Oilers and the Flames are in the playoffs, and everybody's drinking beer, and everything's just fine, and beer sales are through the roof. So we're balancing those things. We're like, okay, because you can't. We try to keep our production, tight. Like we don't
Yep.
have just stocks of beer because our beer has to be fresh. So you're just trying to balance all that. And then
Yep.
obviously when things like the NBA shut down, and then when they shut down schools and daycare, obviously we then went, okay, we didn't know what would happen, and nobody knows even going forward. But we just knew we'd have to, things were going to be changing and changing fast, and we'd have to really adapt to them.
100%. I think I saw, and with all the discussions I've been having, it seems like there was like almost two, more or less like categories or buckets of people, or businesses, I should say, that sort of acted. Some just bottom line due to them not being essential or classified as essential services, kind of shut down, and
Yeah.
then yes, that popular term pivoted. There's a lot of businesses that pivoted. So, did you guys initially just immediately kept the production going and then just tapered, or did the balancing in respect to how much you should be delivering, or did you guys at one point in time shut down too?
Yeah, we basically rebalanced.
Okay.
We started pulling beer back from our biggest distributor because we knew that the demand wouldn't be there. We knew we'd be pushing more of it through our Lacombe location.
Yep.
Obviously start home delivery, and just trying to adapt as much as you can, and just understanding that, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting few months, if not a year, and just kind of preparing ourselves for that.
Totally. And then, did you guys always have like the capabilities to do home delivery, or was that something that you guys quickly kind of adopted and started executing on?
Yeah, so we weren't sure, and so we asked our AGLC inspector, and he just said, "Okay, walk to your license." And we walked our license, and he said, "You see that where it said you can do delivery? Yeah, you can do delivery." And we're like, "Oh, okay." We thought we'd have to go through a process of applying. He's like, "Nah, you." It's like any liquor store. Any liquor store has had the right of the opportunity to do delivery. It's just that
Hmm.
most haven't taken advantage of that. And obviously now, pretty much everybody has to.
Yeah. So how quickly did you see like a jump of customers and people who wanted to support? I mean, bottom line, your local brewery immediately kind of jump on to start taking orders to their homes and items like that.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously it was an immediate spike, and things have been. We thought it would taper off. It's actually growing still. It's
Thank
just
you.
everybody is, doing. I feel like most people are doing the right thing. Most people are socially distancing. Most people are just, reducing
Totally.
the amount of times they're around other people, and which is amazing. And it's one of the things that I was almost shocked is that I saw, business owners, bars and restaurants, who even before they were forced to close, or they said, okay, you know what, we all have to get into this together, and stop this thing in its tracks. And it's been heartening to see.
100, and I completely agree. It's awesome to see sort of the community bottom line understand that and take kind of charge or take the lead, without even to waiting on the government to put those restrictions and items on. And
Like
as you mentioned before, about retooling, talk to us a little bit about that process and when did that started, sort of coming together.
Yeah, so I guess we're obviously talking about hand sanitizer. The government basically changed a lot of the rules and regulations around it. Things that would have taken, months, if not years, to have taken place, took place in days, sometimes hours. You'd be talking with federal government officials, and they'd be saying things like, you know what, if I say it's okay, it's okay. and which
Wow.
is obviously a little bit rare in that part of the world. And so they changed a lot of rules and regulations and allowed us, fast tracked a lot of our licensing, because we still have to do things safely and we got to protect the consumer. And yes, we were able to produce hand sanitizer to meet this huge need for it. And we're doing it on a cost recovery basis. So we're not looking to make profit off of this. We've
Yeah.
said, hey, if if there's anybody who can afford any, we'll just buy them some. We'll just offer them some. And yeah, that's what we've done.
That's
Some,
awesome. And then,
yeah,
like, I guess moving fast around trying to create this hand sanitizer, did you have to collaborate with any organizations or groups or other businesses in this project?
for sure. So yeah, a number, even guys like Token Bitters, who you've talked to before, we've collaborated with. There's a Ellie Bianca out of Calgary, as well as a number of craft brewers in Alberta that basically we share the same Google Drive, and we just
Yeah.
share all the information. We share the same labels.
Oh,
We share
wow.
everything. We share honestly ethanol. Like everything's being shared because we all understand that these are unprecedented times, and we need to get this out to people.
That's, you know what, like, that's so, like, wicked, and that's so enlightening to kind of see, bottom line, how where there's, yes, groups that complement your business, but then also some of your competitors are still all rallying kind of behind, bottom line, how do we produce products and services that will help people, full stop. And that's wicked. And like, were those relationships you had prior to everything, or was this kind of all interconnected with, yes, this crisis that we're all in?
So I'd say craft beer is a little bit different. I've worked in a few different industries, and craft beer is a lot different. We just, we're in a spirit of cooperation, just generally. Um, Basically, if there's bad guys out there, they're the big macro, huge multinational breweries who are trying to put their thumb on us. So we kind of have to all band together to make a spot for ourselves in the world. So that's
Totally.
kind of what we do. That's kind of our just mindset generally. But definitely this COVID crisis has definitely crystallized a lot of those relationships, and everybody recognizes that we need to act. And throughout this, sometimes you feel kind of helpless.
Yeah.
Me personally, and just generally, and so it was really good to be able to do something where you're being proactive and you're actually taking on the world. You're helping people out, and that just kind of raised morale across the board because everybody's not sure what's going to happen, and something a project like this kind of raises everybody's spirits a bit.
I wholeheartedly believe, because ultimately during this time of, bottom line, struggle in different levels and different capacities depending on the groups you're working with, no one's kind of going to make it alone out of this, and no one's going to fully recover alone out of this kind of situation. So it's almost vital to have these relationships, vital to potentially form these partnerships when there's a correct fit, in order to kind of make up for those shortfalls and make up for those differences that we can't all do alone.
Absolutely.
So how's the process been with sort of, I guess, engaging like Albertans as a whole? Like, have you guys seen a lot of sort of communication happening of just directly to people, and some of the, I guess, direct to consumers that been buying your guys' products and services?
Yeah, like a lot of what we do, obviously, is we get out in the world and we're active, and we're in your liquor store, we're up at bars, and we're just kind of hanging out, and we're running events are huge for us, and obviously all that has completely disappeared. So it's kind of like how you've been doing this. It's reacting, and a lot more digital, obviously social media, website, all that is critical. We're doing online sessions, online beer fest, just trying to connect to people, just in a different way now that we can't
Totally.
be face to face with people.
Totally, because I can imagine. Obviously, your nature of your business is very event orientated around, obviously, sports, but then also too, I'm sure, a ton of private events or smaller events that happen across the city. You guys are always having your beers available, or people are looking to purchase your beers to have it available. And have you seen influx of new digital events or experiences of any sorts that people are looking to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, it's a new world. Nobody knows exactly. Some work, some don't. But I've been supporting, you know, everywhere from dance to burlesque to performances at the
Oh,
Starlight
wow.
Room. We're supporting a online film fest that used to run at the Metro Cinema, and now it'll be
It's wicked.
online, Northwest Fest, that starts in a couple days. So we're just all trying to do what we can, because events are not coming back for a while. So
Yep.
everybody will have to just try to support them until we can get back to having those fun events that we all maybe we're even taking for granted.
Totally. So I've noticed there's been a lot of other like business owners and entrepreneurs who've been sort of tuning into the show, trying to get details or tidbits, and I'm kind of curious with kind of the current conversation that's happening in Alberta, is around sort of recovery and what does recovery look like, or getting back to work and what does that look like for Blindman Brewery? What does that look like to sort of get back to work, so to speak, or going down that pathway of recovery?
Yeah, like again, we're probably in a privileged situation, that we're doing just fine. We'll continue doing just fine. We liquor stores aren't going to close anytime soon, even if we get a
Yep.
second or third or fourth wave, just because of the tax revenue. So we'll always have some ability to generate revenue. So
Yep.
as long as we have an ability to generate revenue, it means we can pay our people. We might not be making profit, but
Yep.
as long as we keep people working through this, we'll be able to come out the other side and you know do something. But again, I have no idea what that
Totally.
what that's gonna look like.
Totally, because it's funny to kind of think how much things have changed across the board over the last 8 weeks, especially with, I mean, like our prime minister just making those daily announcements where it kind of rejigs everything in terms of what we can do and what we can't do, and then plus you got the provincial level of announcements that change up what we can do and what we can't do, and then you have the municipal level of changes and adjustments that are constantly just in flux of information and flux of just something's new every day, every hour. And I'm kind of curious, have you just been consuming all that information? Do you try to distance it? Do you like, I'm curious, how do you digest all of that, all those changes in the regulations?
Yeah, I think you have to rely on others just in the world, and so I rely on we've got people who help us out, and they kind of collate things, whether they're government or industry or advisors. They kind of help you with that. Um,
Totally.
you take it as it comes. Obviously, there's new stuff pretty much every day. You can't get too you can't focus too much on any one thing.
Yeah.
One thing with beer is that, because beer is alcohol, it's intoxicating, it's regulated by the government pretty heavily and taxed pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Things change every year, every couple of years with regulations. Like, it's not like
Okay.
apple juice, that you can expect to make apple juice and sell apple juice, and maybe the price goes up and down, and maybe it does this. But the government is always heavily involved in regulating alcohol, so
Yeah.
there's been changes every year, every couple of years. And you talk to people who have breweries who've been around for 25 years, there's no baseline for it.
Yeah.
And it, like, core stuff with the tax, for example, taxation um, just changes how much margin there is in any one product. So, and that's changing. It's going up. It's going down. It's going sideways. And you just kind of have to have a long term mindset and just kind of roll with the punches.
Totally. No, and that's very true, because my gosh, like with such, I guess, every heavy regulated sort of industry, you just gotta just work with what you have to work with, because it's basically across the board of every other, um, I guess, beer or brewery or individuals and groups like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you guys have a timeline of how long you plan on producing like hand sanitizers, or sort of activating in this kind of retooled environment, or are you just once again, yeah, like what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so for example, our license is only valid during the COVID emergency. However Health Canada defines that. I imagine
Okay.
they'll keep that going for probably another year, if not longer.
Yeah.
For us, it's probably not something we're going to do long term, maybe a couple more months. Basically, as soon as we can fill that need, as well as lots of others around the country,
Yeah.
especially locally, most of the hand sanitizer is made in Ontario and Quebec, and it's
Yeah.
not like they're hoarding it, but it's just not making it out west. So
Totally.
it's up to local producers to kind of fill that gap. And as soon as that gap's filled, we'll step back. It's not our primary business. It's just something
Totally.
doing while we can.
Yeah. And then are you guys at all formulating any other products in that retooled hand sanitizer lens?
You know, hard to say. There's a lot of ideas out there. There's a lot of things we're working on. You just have no idea kind of what to expect in a couple months. So we're just kind of taking things day by day, week by week, month to month for now.
Cool. And then going back to, the main thing that we're here to talk about Blindman Brewery. I'm kind of curious, has this time stalled any potential new flavors or products that you guys are developing, or are you just sort of just continuing as planned but just at a kind of lower capacity?
Yeah, it definitely stalled for about a month, but then we got back on it. That's the fun part of being a brewer is, developing new flavors, just having fun with it. So we just
Totally.
launched our new Florida Vice, or summer uh, fruited sour beer, which is lemons, limes, and clementines.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a fun patio beer. And
Yeah.
we've got a beer coming out for May Long. It'll be May Long Double IPA, which we're pretty stoked about. So that'll be next week.
Yeah.
And just kind of getting back into the swing of things. Summer is always busy,
Awesome.
breweries, and yeah, we're just gonna have some fun with it and see.
Oh man, I gotta make sure I put my order in to try those flavors.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm kind of curious with the range of probably different flavors and beers that you have sampled. Does anything stand out as your most like favorite go-to?
So I drink more of our session ale than anything. It just tastes like it's just my, you know, mowing the lawn beer. It's my, watching football beer. It just fits. And it's the hardest beer for us to produce because it's
Oh,
lower alcohol and the
mhm.
flavors aren't covered up by things. So it does take a lot of effort to make.
Yeah.
And then we made one about 6 months ago. There was another fruited beer. That was our dwarf sour cherry, and it was, that beer took 2 years in barrels and foeders, and it was just and then it was put on cherries that were developed at the University of Saskatchewan that are designed
Oh
for.
wow.
And it's just like such a I want to almost say triumph of everything we try to do. Support local. Take our time. Don't cut corners. And the fact that it tasted so great at the end was just, oh, I loved it.
That's so wicked. That's such a great story. And I'm kind of curious when it comes to, unfortunately, like a flavor that doesn't meet your guys' standards, it doesn't make it out to the public. What sometimes goes into those batches? 'Cause I'm always curious about, yeah, what goes into the flavors that don't make it out.
Yeah, so everything starts with an idea, and some ideas end up better than others, and sometimes you don't know that until far too late. We're always test batching on smaller systems and then bigger systems, and always like even our call it our core beers, we're constantly improving them and working with them,
Okay.
because it is it's a product that uses agriculture ingredients. So barley's not quite the same, hops aren't quite the same year over year, field by field. So you got to adapt. you know
Yeah.
Yeast is a living organism. Sometimes it wants to misbehave, so you have to adapt. um,
Oh wow.
in the end, though, the only cure is honestly dumping it down the drain. Failed batches are just failed batches. Sometimes we do some fun things, like we're looking at doing some malt vinegar and stuff, and
Okay.
you can use it in different ways. But honestly, we feed it to pigs and stuff too. They eat.
So, did you guys ever have like? And I'm kind of curious. I'm curious on what the name of the flavor, what the flavor profile would be. But have you ever had like a flavor that should have worked on paper and it made sense and it was like, oh, this is going to just be wonderful, and it's turned out the exact opposite?
Yeah, you got to be careful with herbs.
Okay.
Like obviously herbs are a great way to add flavor in food and beer, but
Yeah.
just the level, you know, you're dealing with extraction of flavors from herbs, and sometimes they go way too much. It's like, oh no, this doesn't work.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Kurt, I just want to say, just thank you for taking some time out of your day. I know it's still a work day, and I'm sure you're still doing a number of different tasks and things as the day is still early. And just want to say thank you for just checking in and giving people some perspective and understanding of Blindman Brewing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and for you to take on this project of kind of reaching out to people, because it's one of the things we all have to be doing is being proactive about reaching out to each other, because it's we're not getting those same natural interactions that we were before.
100%, 100%. Okay, so sounds good. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk
Okay,
soon.
later.
Later.
So, before we wrap up this episode, I just want to kind of say, like, one of the things that really resonated with what Kurt was talking about, which is phenomenal, is sort of like the notion of like how working together just allows people options, allows choices, and this seems to be like a similar theme that's ongoing. That a lot of the businesses that are pushing through and sort of pivoting at this time are able to connect with other businesses to allow projects such as hand sanitizers to come to fruition, or even to just allows them just to keep the lights on. This is like a really awesome discussion, and I hope you guys learned some cool stuff and interesting things about Blindman Brewery. I hope everyone does support their new flavors that are going to be dropping soon. I'm definitely going to, as it's warming up right now. And let's be blunt, who doesn't love beer on these hot summer, spring days that are coming our way? Anyways, peace, love, and hope to talk to you guys soon.